I'm going to show you guys how to run the calculations on the cell size lab. That way you can more easily get this table done. So this first column wants you to report the total volume of the cube. The total volume of the cube is based upon length times width times height. You cut these using the ruler, and so this is actually pretty easy to do. So the first one, since it has 1 centimeter sides, or at least it should, you're going to take 1 times 1 times 1. Take 1 times 1 times 1, you get 1. Okay, so the total volume in cubic centimeters is 1 cubic centimeter, also known as 1 milliliter. For the 2, it's 2 times 2 times 2, and that's going to give you 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is equal to 8 cubic centimeters. And then for the third one, you had 3 centimeter sides, so it's 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. Now when you measured your cube, you had different areas that you were taking a look at. So you measured across the uncolored area of your cube. So your values are going to vary from mine. It all depends on how the cube was cut, how long it was in the solution, and so on. So the way that you run this is you measured across to see the amount of uncolored area when you cut open your cube. I'm going to put some hypotheticals. Usually the uncolored area for the 1 centimeter cube is 0. Okay, and if that was the case, it's just going to be 0 times 0 times 0. And if that's not the case, put your number in, but typically it's a pretty small value is what you're going to find. Okay, obviously that's 0. For the distance across the uncolored area for the 2, it's usually slightly bigger. So I'm going to pick, just to make it simple, 1.5. So 1.5 times 1.5 times 1.5. And I'm going to grab a calculator in order to get that accomplished. My calculator, I get 3.375. So that is the volume of the uncolored area based upon my distance measurement that I made. And then the last one, typically this one is pretty good size. So just to make it simple again, we're going to say we're just going to pretend it was 2.5 centimeters across. And then you're going to take that times itself 3 times. And when you put that into your calculator, you get 15.625. For the next portion, it wants to know the volume of the colored area. This would be pretty difficult to measure and calculate out. That's why we went ahead and measured the uncolored area first. Once you do this, it's very simple. You're going to subtract the total volume from the uncolored area. So in this case, it's 1 minus 0, which of course is 1. Next one's going to be 8 minus 3.75. 3.375, which is going to give you 4.625. And then the last one is going to be 27 minus 15.625. Again, your numbers are going to probably look different from mine. Plug your numbers in, and I want to make sure you use your data because mine's all made up. It's hypothetical. 11.375. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and figure out the ratio of the colored volume to the total volume. So in this case, our colored volume is 1. Our total volume is 1. For our next one, our colored volume is 4.625. And our uncolored is 8. And you can leave these just as inequalities. Our last one is 11.375. And our total volume is 27. Now to figure these up, you're going to divide your numbers in the previous column. So 1 times 1 divided by 1. And then you'll multiply it by 100 in order to put it into the percent. So 1 divided by 1 is 1 times 100 would give you 100%. Okay, for the next one, you have 4.625, and you divide that by 8. And that gives you 0.578125. So I'm going to round it to the nearest tenth. After I multiply it by 100, that'll give me 57.8%. And that's definitely close enough. And then for our last one, we take 11.375 and you divide that by 27. And you end up with 42.1%. Remember, these are my values, they're made up. Yours should not look the same as mine, but this is how you figure it out. Now we go back to the surface area of the cube, and this is a measurement that we took early on when we worked on the beginning of this chapter. Surface area is length times width times number of sides. So in this case, for the 1 centimeter sided cube, it's 1 times 1 times 6 sides, which gives you 6. Over here for the 2 centimeter cube, it's 2 times 2 times 6 for the number of sides. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 6 is 24. And then for the 3 volume cube, it's 3 times 3 times 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 6 is 54. Now we're going to figure out the surface area to volume based upon just the cube. That's all we got to figure up here. So our volume is 1. Our surface area is 6. So it's 6 over 1. Our surface area to volume ratio for this cube, the volume is 8. The surface area is 24. So it's 24 over 8. Which is the same thing as saying, I'm going to reduce this down so it's easier to compare, 3 over 1. And then our last one is 27 for the volume, 54 for the surface area, so you take 54 over 27, and you can reduce this down to 2 over 1. And that is the way that you figure out this table.